Mystery of Ignis, Chapter 2. I exited Quantum Jump about 100 kilometers from a space station and disengaged the jump engine. It reacted and the lights flickered. I clicked the two left toggles on the dash, switching into SCM flight mode, then shut off the shields as well. Lastly, it was time for life support to rest for the remainder of the approach. Idea was to reduce my EM signature to a minimum. We were nearly undetectable. The Aurora was a highly responsive ship, weaving effortlessly through the massive asteroids that loomed around us like silent giants. Their shadows seemed almost judgmental of my reckless flying. There was so much to do. Find a buyer for the Hadonite, get parts and tools ordered, track down some answers. But first, we needed to reach the station safely. Alarm blared, cutting through the silence. Someone was exiting Quantum Jump nearby. I launched towards the controls and killed the power. I looked to my right and saw it, the most beautiful ship, my dream ship, the RSI Arastra. Oh, she was mesmerizing. Her long, elegant hull, a testament to engineering perfection. With 12 level 3 guns, a crew capacity of up to 5, and 3 massive mining lasers. She even boasted onboard refineries. Stretching over 120 meters in length, she was gorgeous to look at. Most likely the rough and ready gang is running a local mining operation, I thought. Arastra had an escort. A Vanguard warden entered the scene. That's terrifying one, I thought to myself. I took a deep breath. Aurora and I were slowly drifting. I didn't have time to come to a complete stop before shutting down power. Arastra and its warden moved at steady pace, heading towards Gaslight station. This was my window of opportunity. I should follow them, staying just beyond their radar reach. I waited until there were 15 kilometers between us before powering up my engines. I followed. A group like that would scare off any griffers flying small-sized fighters. Arastra could stand up for itself, but with Warden as a backup, they were a powerful force. Who knew what else might be hidden inside of the Arastra's cargo hold? I wanted one so bad. All power to the engines and shields. It was my time to shine. Pirates were almost inside of the station. I punched it, boosting the engines. Arastra disappeared first. Warden slowed in front of the hangar for a quick second and followed inside. Station looked cast aside. It hasn't been properly maintained for decades. They needed someone in charge who cares, I thought to myself. 5 kilometers to Gaslight? My docking request was approved. Go ahead to Hangar 9, female voice said over comms. Hangar 9, I repeated. Thanks. My radar beeped. Someone was about to exit Quantum Jump again, but we were safe. I eased the Aurora into the Hangar 9 as a blast door sealed shut behind me. The first thing to do was to secure my cargo, 2 tons of gems, which would sell for 950,000 credits around Aberdeen. But making the trip myself was out of question. Aurora was stolen, in Stanton is jail sentence, and with its tiny Quantanium tank, I'd have to make 2 fuel stops inside of Pyro before even reaching the Stanton's gateway. Every stop at the station would put me at enormous risk, and I didn't feel like leaving Zeus at Ignis for too long. A sense of relief washed over me as I watched the container of Hadonite slowly lower into the station storage compartment, the mechanical platform guiding it down. It was a 3-minute elevator ride to main lobby of Gaslight station. As I stepped in, flickering lights barely held back the shadows, and smoke curled from broken panels along the walls. The place reeked of burned wiring, cheap liquor, and people. In the corner, a couple of women sat motionless, their torn-down clothes hanging loosely on their frail frames, most likely high on maize. If the universe had a center, this station felt as far from it as possible. I passed a group of headhunters huddled around a poker table, their eyes peering at me from beneath lowered hoods. I felt their gaze linger, measuring, but I didn't slow my pace. I didn't look much different from the rest of the lost souls drifting through this place. As I approached the habitation area, the neglect was immediately evident. Flickering overhead lights cast dim glow over rusted metal walls. their surfaces scarred by years of grime and hasty patchwork repairs. The reception counter, a dented slab of steel barely holding together. A pair of ancient elevators, their doors sluggish and rusted, offer passage to the 8 levels above, each housing 15 apartments. At the counter, a young woman looked as I approached. "Hey, I'm Leora. Can I help you? Need a room?" She was beautiful, wore a low-cut tank top and tight leather skirt. Her brown hair twisted into a ponytail. Tattoos covered her toned arms, shoulders, and disappeared beneath her blouse, one trailing down along her muscular stomach before vanishing beneath a waistband of her skirt. "Concentrate. There's business to be done," I reminded myself before speaking. "I'm Tig. Yes, please. I'll be staying for at least a week." She smiled, looked down to her computer. 124 credits per day. Total 868, she replied. Room 612. I transferred the credits and headed up to the level 6. I woke up after 9 hours of sleep. My body ached, but I felt great. Then suddenly hunger hit me like a fully loaded caterpillar. I made my way down to the main level and headed straight to the bar. Roses was surprisingly neat and well kept, a rare oasis of order in this rundown station. I slid onto a bar stool and ordered a pint of cold light beer. 0G lager. The first sip was heaven. Crisp and slightly sour. The malt smooth and refreshing with a touch of bitterness. I drained it fast and signaled for another. I ordered a hamburger. Bartender, a man in his 70s with a quick gray beard and broad shoulders, moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent a lifetime dodging blaster shots. He had a slight beer belly, not much, just enough to say he enjoyed his own stock. That's how I'd like to retire one day, I thought. Running my own bar on a space station? Maybe even owning one. Owning a station. Now, that was a brilliant idea. I'll let the thought simmer as I finish my third beer. "Mark, another." A burger arrived. A towering triple patty smash burger with caramelized onions, spicy pepper aioli, and side of thin, perfectly crisp fries. A mix of regular and sweet potatoes. The aroma hit me first, rich and savory, with just the right hint of spice. The bun was soft, warm to the touch. Thanks to the advancement in food preservation, fresh ingredients were given, even out here in fringes of human space. I couldn't wait another second. I took a huge bite. It felt surreal. Just days ago, I wasn't even sure I could survive. And now, I was here, drinking cold beer and eating the best damn burger of my life. You never truly appreciate something until you remember how easily it can be lost to the void. I checked my balance, just under 20,000 credits left. I was betting everything on this had a night run. I needed to figure this out, fast. Pulling out my computer, I recorded a quick voice message. "Hey Phoenix, you're still around Pyro, right? How about a quick payday? Listen, I've got 2 SCU of Hadanite, selling it cheap. Cargo's waiting for pickup. I'm at Gaslight, near Pyro 5. Let me know if you're in." I clicked send. Phoenix was a friend of mine. We had been through many dangerous adventures together. Trust was a rarity, but he had earned it. I downed a shot of aged tequila, savory and smoky caramel burn before closing my tab, and leaving a generous 50 credit tip for a barkeep. I stopped before leaving. "Mark, you wouldn't happen to know anyone looking to buy a ship, would you?" Bartender barely looked up. "Try cargo management. Anton runs it. He's in charge of cargo bay and all deliveries. He might be able to help." I nodded and stepped away, feeling the warmth of the alcohol settling in. 3 beers and a shot. Maybe 4 beers? I laughed out loud, shaking my head. Before heading back to the hubs, I stopped by the station shops to pick up some essentials. An extra flight suit, some everyday clothes, 2 pair of jeans, a couple of shorts, a hoodie, and some fresh underwear. I woke up in my tiny room. A small bed, a table with a screen attached to it, and the cold neon lights lining the perimeter of the walls. Functional but far from comfortable. Notification blinked on my PDA. Message from Phoenix. Hey man, I'm finishing up things in Bloom. Can be there in 3 days. 300,000 per CU. I'll throw another 50 on top for a good friendship. See you in 3 days, I replied and sent the message. 350,000 in profit after fuel expenses. Not a bad deal for Phoenix, but I wasn't planning on haggling. The sooner I offload the Hadanite, the better. I took a quick shower, bent out 40 push-ups, and knocked back a shot of tequila to clear my head. As I stepped downstairs, a voice stopped me. Hey, Leora handed me a flyer. Show tonight at the old refinery. I'm going, she added with a smirk. I glanced at it, then tucked it into my back pocket. I'll think about it. Antle was a stocky, broad-smiling man with the sharp eyes for profit. Short, but far from ugly. His round face and polished uniform gave him an approachable air. Until business was on the table, he was your friend. He always put his interests first, maneuvering deals with a practiced ease, ensuring every transaction worked in his favor. I have a ship for sale, like new, Aurora MR. I want it off my hands. Antle leaned back slightly. You got its registration? I shook my head. His grin widened. Did you steal it? Do you really want to know? He chuckled. Fair enough. 200,000. Take it or leave it. Transfer the credits, I said. Antle looked at me. Pleasure doing business. I was walking on the station corridor smiling. I felt that I can make things work. The station was in rough shape. Missing panels exposed tangled wires, some of them sparkling, while a thin haze of smoke drifted lazily through the corridors. The ventilation system wheezed like an old man struggling to cycle air, carrying the mixed scent of engine grease, sweat, and something acrid that clung to the back of the throat. But despite the decay, the place pulsed with life. Neon flickered, casting fractured colors against dented bulkheads, while deep bass beats and loud laughter spilled from open doorways. The air was thick with scent of cheap liquor and synthetic spice, bodies pressed together in deeply lit lounges where deals were made and pleasures were bought. The station might have been falling apart, but it had a heartbeat, a chaotic, lawless energy that made the clean corporate hubs of Hurston feel like empty tombs in comparison. I sat down on a bench, pulled up my computer and placed some orders. Fuses, the cheapest power generator I could find, a new distributor, a jump drive, and a fresh battery. I also picked up 2 new drones for the zoos. They would help me with the repairs and add an extra layer of protection. To top it off, I ordered hydrogen fuel and a few other essentials, all set for delivery to Gaslight station. I was a captain without a ship, but I was smiling. The total came to 130 grand, leaving me with 90,000. I wired 50k to Zorak with a message. I'm working on getting your money, give me some more time. I still owed him 2 million. The debt came from a loan. A chance to purchase a half-salvage F-7A Super Hornet that had surfaced on the underground market for 3.2 million. No engines, no guns, no shields, and of course no registration, but I couldn't pass up on the opportunity. She was a rare fighter, one of the best in the galaxy. Fully outfitted, she could outmaneuver and outgun almost anything in the verse. I had put up 1.2 million and Zorak had loaned me the rest. Now I was way overdue on payments. I knew it was foolish, but some ships weren't just ships, they were dreams. I moved through the crowd, bodies grinding against each other, merging into one pulsing mass of emotion. Heavy, hypnotic beat of electronic music morphed into the high-paced drum and bass rhythm. Each drop sent a shockwave through the air. I lit a cigarette. Local tobacco. Something interesting. Could be dipped in acid, could be clean. Who the hell really knew? The local alchemists were always brewing up something in their swirling glass tubes, distilling extracts from the strange vegetation that grew in Pyro's forgotten corners. People here trusted each other that way. Or maybe they just didn't care. Either way, Bioticorp offered its service even here. Venue was in the abandoned section of the station, an old stripped-down refinery. At the center of it all, the DJ stood atop a rusted metal furnace, blasting sound waves through a groove of moving souls. Flashes of light and neon lasers cut through the haze, illuminating the hive, a pulsating sea of bodies surrendering to the music. I let myself move with the rhythm, feeling every note like a currency exchange, a transaction of energy between me and the sound. I ordered an aged tequila, the first sip rich with caramel and smoky flavors, the cold burn biting at my lips. Someone touched my shoulder. I turned. Leora. She leaned in, her bare back brushing against me, her skin warm. She smelled like a mix of petrol and leather, kissed with dark, drunken cherry and rich chocolate. Dangerous, raw, and irresistibly seductive. Her sunglasses caught the chaos around us, flashes of lasers, the DJ silhouette, the twisted crowd, a reflection of the entire world, condensed in two mirrored lenses. I woke up. Too many drinks last night. Lights blinked in the corner of the room, each pulse bouncing around in my skull with a pounding rhythm. I groaned, threw on some clothes and stepped out. Leora wasn't at the counter. To be honest, I wasn't sure how the night had ended, but I knew I had enjoyed it. The scent of cherry and chocolate still lingered. Surprisingly, Mark wasn't there. Instead, a younger girl with a shaved head stood behind the counter, her skin covered in an intricate sandworm tattoo. I ordered a beer and some snacks, pretzel with cheese sauce and grilled sausages with mustard. I needed to get some work done. Taking a large sip of cold beer, I turned my attention to my computer. A notification blinked on the screen. All deliveries had arrived at the station. Perfect timing. I glanced over my shoulder and noticed a figure leaning against the bar table. Something about him felt off, like he was watching me. Dark jacket, sunglasses. Underneath, he wore a light body armor. It was easy to spot, at least for me. I refocused on my task, downloading all available records on Nevada drugs. Information was sparse. I installed their language records into my PDA's translator and finished my beer. Stepped out of the bar, I scanned my surroundings. The guy was gone. I needed to keep my eyes open. Greasy food and cold pine had done their job. It was time to do the last bit of shopping. I head out to the market area. Store didn't have many options for heavy armor, but it did have a great Inquisitor setup. Made black, with reinforced plating along the chest, shoulders and forearms. It was designed for mobility without sacrificing too much protection. Medium armor wouldn't take as much punishment as heavy, but it was far easier to move in. Light enough for long treks, yet strong enough to handle small arms fire and debris impact. Suit came equipped with a modular attachment system, perfect for mounting extra gear and an integrated power assist layer that helped reduce fatigue. It also had all the latest modules I might need on Ignis, an enhanced filtration system for toxic environments, thermal regulation for extreme conditions, and a reinforced comms unit as long as my ship wasn't too far. I still couldn't believe I was going back to that hellhole. I suited up. My pistol rested on my hip, hidden beneath a large hoodie and a baggy pants. Too many layers, it felt uncomfortable. I picked up one SCU of water and had it sent to the hangar, along with a solid supply of food, a variety of MREs, plus some fresh fruit and vegetables. I rented a medium-sized hangar from my terminal and took the elevator down. Using the cargo lift, I called in all the deliveries. Then I got to work, preparing tools, supplies, and ship components. With a tractor beam, I carefully placed everything into a single 4 SCU crate. Besides it, I placed 2 SCU boxes filled with gems, along with a container of water and compressed hydrogen. A voice message came through, crackling slightly over the comms. "Hey T, I'm 6 hours away from the station." "Perfect," I sent a reply. "Hey man, could you do me a solid? Drop me off at Ignis. I gotta get my Zeus from there." I instinctively glanced over my shoulder when I had stepped out of the elevator. For a brief moment, I could have sworn I saw that same figure again, the one from the bar, a shadow leaning just out of sight. I picked up the pace. The hangar was secure, locked down under the protection of Antle and his team. Nobody stole from the hangars or cargo bay, not unless they had a death wish. Still, something about that presence unsettled me. Dismissing the thought, I stepped into the station's main corridor, where the air was thick with a scent of coolant, metal, and faint traces of cooked food from the diner nearby. Leora was behind the counter as usual, her sharp eyes catching mine. She waved. "Hey, you wanna hang out tonight?" she asked, her tone casual but exciting. I hesitated for a second before shaking my head. "Maybe next time, when I'm back at the station." She gave me a knowing smirk and turned back to her work. I exhaled. One last night of drinks and easy company might have been nice, but my mind was already elsewhere, on Ignis, my ship, and whoever the hell was following me. I ran into the room and started packing my gear, quickly checking the charge on my pistol before setting it aside. Alarm on my computer startled me awake. I played the message from Phoenix. "Yeah, sure, man. I owe you one. Get ready. I'm 30 minutes out." I wasn't sure if Phoenix planned to spend the night at Gaslight or head out right away, but I needed to be ready for either. I got dressed, grabbed my pack, making sure my helmet was secure, and slung the rifle over my shoulder. Vodrak's weapon was strapped alongside it, still unfamiliar, but I wasn't leaving it behind. I took a deep breath, shook off the last remnants of sleep, and stepped out of the room. Time to move. Gaslight was quiet at this hour. A couple of druggies slumped in a corner, drifting in and out of consciousness, their body lost in the endless ocean of nirvana, only surfacing for breath before slipping back under. I passed the bar and turned right towards the hangar elevator. "Hey, you," the voice cut through the silence. I glanced back. 3 men, light armor with yellow and black stripes. One of them I recognized immediately, the guy from the bar. Were they the Zorak's men? Was I being hunted? I thought to myself. "What's up?" I replied, keeping my tone casual. They advanced slowly. "What kind of business are you here for?" "Who's asking?" I took a step back, positioning myself near a couple of open barrels by the corridor wall. Cover, I thought. "Why so aggressive?" one of them whispered, drawing a gun. "We saw you follow us into the station," he continued, "and we know you have the gems. We scanned you, piece of shit, Aurora. We are only ones dealing with Hadanite around here, and we don't want Stanton's scam coming in." I rasped her screw. 2 pawns and a knight. Not Zorak, just local pirate. Rough and ready, most likely. "Where is it? Give it up, and maybe you get to keep your life." He raised his blaster. I wasn't afraid. Not after the weeks on Ignis. I moved first, lunging behind the barrels as they fired. A blaster bolt slammed into my chest plate, knocking the air out of my lungs. I gasped, rolled, and pulled my pistol. 2 quick shots. The crack of gunfire echoed through the corridors. "Keep him down," one of them yelled. "I think I hit him," the other one shouted. I had to move fast. Lining up a shot behind the cover, I squeezed the trigger. A perfect hit. Pirate's head exploded like a ripe watermelon, spraying the corridor with blood. The knight screamed. The other backed up. The body stood motionless for 2 seconds before collapsing. A headless horseman, I thought. I fired twice more, keeping them on the defense, and started pushing towards the elevator, shooting as I moved. "Phoenix, Hangar 9, scoop and scoot. Keep your shields up, we've got the company." I sent the message breathing hard. Reaching the elevator, I needed a few seconds to sync my PDA and start the sequence. I fired another shot, catching the knight in his shin. He screamed in pain. I didn't hesitate. I yanked a grenade from my belt and lobbed it in front of them. Boom! They scrambled for cover. The knight definitely was hit. The elevator door slid shut. 3 minutes to the hangar. I'm in front of the hangar, Phoenix said over comms. I secured my helmet and sent the signal for the hangar to open. Moments later, Phoenix backed in, ramp down, engines running. Keep it hot, just need to load the boxes. I ran into the hangar. Phoenix's Freelancer Mag sat there, its sleek red hull gleaming under the station's lights, engines humming with a soft glow. The ramp was down, and Phoenix stood at the top, waving me in. Let's go, he shouted. I hauled boxes up the ramp. One's yours, full of gems, I said. I hope you didn't plan on spending the night at the station. Here? No chance. Only good thing about Gaslight is the smash burger from a pub, Phoenix replied. Ran to the bolt turret at the rear and strapped in. Punch it, I yelled over comms. Phoenix hit the throttle and the ship roared to life, lifting off the hangar's floor. A minute after clearing the station, a new signature appeared on the radar. Vanguard Warden. Oh man, you said nothing about the Warden, Phoenix yelled over the ship's comms. I didn't know that we are in trouble until 15 minutes ago. They are after your head tonight. Phoenix laughed. Yeah, right. Okay, Phoenix, jump away. What are you waiting for? The Freelancer wasn't a fighter. It was a cargo hauler with a decent shield, but no match for a fully armed Warden. Just another minute, calibrating, Phoenix muttered, fingers flying over the controls. We were still outside of the Warden's cannon range, but not its missiles. 2 launches, incoming, Phoenix shouted. For a split second, the missile warning blared, then silence. A faint, high-pitched whistle filled the cabin. We had jumped to quantum. You saved my life, my friend. Thank you. I shook Phoenix's hand firmly. That's what we do. Don't mention it, he replied. You've pulled me out of trouble plenty of times before. We were en route to Pyro 5, with a short jump to Ignis after that. Phoenix pulled up the nav display and sent over the coordinates. No worries, we'll be there in less than 3 hours. Right at sunrise. Perfect, I said, leaning back to my seat. As we cruised through quantum, I filled him in on what happened with my ship, keeping most of the details vague. I didn't mention the creatures hunting me on Ignis, not yet. I needed to figure that out on my own first. Wish I could stay and help you fix up the Zeus, Phoenix said. But my cargo hold's full, can't spare an extra minute in Pyro. I nodded understanding. Hey Phoenix, if you're around ambitious, say hi to Eugenia for me. He smirked and pointed at my computer. How about you do it yourself? Before I could respond, the ship's console beeped. Get ready, we are entering the atmosphere.